So I would like to first invite Professor Huang Ping to speak. This year, we have been very honored to have Professor Huang Ping's Chinese Institute. This is Chinese Institute of Hong Kong to be the key organizer of this forum. Together with the School of Chinese Medicine of Hong Kong Baptist University. So these two organizations, together with Lingnan University and with the Global University for Sustainability, have been the four key organizers. And as in the past, we have 11 co-organizers. So I'm not going to read the whole list, but then please refer to the forum brochure and also the information on the website. So now I would first like to invite Professor Huang Ping to speak in this concluding session. So Professor Huang is Senior Research Fellow and Professor at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, member of the 13th National Committee of Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, and also senior advisor of the Chinese Association for Hong Kong and Macau Studies, as well as executive president of the Chinese Institute of Hong Kong, China. So over to you, Professor Huang.
Thank you, Professor Kimchi, and thank you everyone for attending the 11th South-South Forum. And thank you. I'm very honored to be together with Professor Kimchi and the Hong Kong Baptist University, Lingnan University, and Global University to together establish and launch this round of South-South Forum. So on behalf of the Hong Kong, the Chinese Institute of Hong Kong Studies, long before, me together with Professor Kimchi have studied on the development of Global South, that is the development of African countries, Latin American countries, and Asian countries. As for the cultural, economic, and social problems of this Global South. And we also study the relationship between Global South and Global North. So most of my career was in mainland China. So compared to Professor Wen Tiejun and Professor Dai Jinghua, I didn't attend every session of the South-South Forum, but I've always been tracking the development of South-South Forum. For this year's forum, I organized it together with Professor Kimchi, and we decided to give the topic of health and the road to sustainability as the main topic of the 11th South-South Forum. Why we set such a topic? First of all, this is a main topic and issue of South-South Forum, and it is also an issue of sustainability. Today, our world inevitably has gone through the COVID-19 pandemic. So in the past few years, we were deeply aware of sustainability development, economy, new economic paradigm, and their connection of human destiny and human health. We talk about more than disease. We talk about mental health and physical health and the healthy relationship among people and nations, and a healthy community relationship and a social relationship, as well as healthy and benign national relationship. So we focus more on health and sustainability for this session. So once again, I want to highlight this topic. Additionally, this year's forum is the first time for us to invite professors who study TCM in China. They are doctors. It is the first time for us to invite doctors to our forum. Most of them are still doing clinical practice and experiments in hospitals. They are still studying TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. They shared with us their insights and opinions about the development of TCM and the relationship between TCM and human health and the Western modern medicine. We discussed what kind of condition and dynamics should be held between traditional Chinese medicine and human health. So we are very honored to have 3 experts in TCM joining us in this forum. And they were here to help us. Our health is not personal and individual health. This health is something that has been suggested by Professor Wen Tiezhen. That is the general health of human beings. It is a one health philosophy, both mentally and physically. It has something to do with our mindset, emotion, and personal cultivation, and personal characteristics, and our feelings, and our sensitives. So we have someone who are experts in traditional Chinese calligraphy and ink painting. And we have this artist joining us in this session. And this artist is also a very important and famous architecture artist. He's a scholar as well. He was here to share aesthetic insight with us. And this topic has gained a lot of attention beyond South Forum, and this problem cannot be solved only through this year's session. But for South Forum, our mission is to observe the problem, face the problem, and try to solve the problem. We can gain insights from different areas, perspectives, sectors, and we can learn this problem in our daily practice. And we should collect and observe the practice that tend to be neglected and ignored by the majority. I do hope in this way we can have more guests and participants sharing insights with us, giving feedback with us. And we have people working in traditional and new type of media who are supporting our forum. Global South is a popular buzzword. Today, the Global South haven't been totally free from the new capitalism and new liberalism of the global North. There's still an unfair global order. And meanwhile, the Global South have been aware of their own drawbacks and problems. They cannot totally learn from the Western lessons, and they shouldn't follow the steps of the global North. They need to find their own problems and solve the problems on their own. It is more about anti-colonialism in the 21st century, and we have gained a lot of experience and lessons from the past 12 years. In the 21st century, the global south is a huge phenomenon. The sustainable development of global south cares more about the common development of human beings. Global south care more about a healthy mental state and a healthy personal relationship and national relationship. So this year has embarked on a new road of development on the basis of the accumulation of knowledge of the previous 10 sessions of South-South Forum. I think we can further explore the issue of South-South cooperation. Just like the international relationship 70 years ago between China and other East Asian countries. Today, China is leading a global development initiative, global peace initiative, and a global security initiative. Generally speaking, for the initiatives concerned the globe and the global south, there are more practice and philosophies like the Belt and Road Initiative. We are learning from the past, and we are becoming more vigilant of the previous lessons and the previous faults. The new narrative, the new philosophy are emerging. We can gain new understanding. Therefore, we will be able to change the world and further eliminate or narrow down the gap between global source and the global north. We can shorten the distance between the two majorities, even though there will certainly be other kinds of challenges, but we will for sure reach to a community with shared future for mankind. So that is my conclusion. I do hope we can still talk with each other and share insights with each other in the 12th or 13th sessions of South-South Forum.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Huang. We have been friends for a long, long time, especially in the organization called ARENA, Asian Regional Exchange for New Alternatives. So we have, and so it has been a great pleasure this time to be co-organizing this forum together with Professor Huang. So now I would like to invite Dr. Yan Xiaohui, first Professor Tsui Jade to say some words.
Thank you, Professor Kimchi. First, I would like to supplement more background information about South-South Forum. Actually, we have held 10 sessions of South-South Forum. We have a solid foundation because we have always been doing the comparative studies of the 7 emerging economies from 2011 to this year. We have been following the development of China, Brazil, India, Indonesia, South Africa, Turkey, and Venezuela. Apart from the national development, we focus more on the common interest of people in the 7 emerging economies. So this is a E7 study. This study and South-South Forum are parallel and they can supplement it with each other. These two programs both focus on ecosystem philosophy, sustainable development, and based on China's development solutions, we want to help the global exchange and development. We want to form a new solutions, alternative solutions to help global south to find their own self-sufficiency. The global south have been struggling to get rid of the colonialism from the West. They have gained many lessons and experience. We need to collect these lessons and experience. We need to gain more national experience. And there are many damages and disasters that cannot be explained by the common narrative. So we need to find a alternative solution to build a new world, in which the disasters can be solved. So in 2022, we began to write a series of books around the development of Global South, which includes E7 studies. The E7 studies was compiled into a series of new books. It has been published for 2 years, and 27,000 versions have been published and sold. From this, we can see many young people are very aware of the destiny and development paths of Global South countries. And this series of books have summarized the Global South development and the mistakes made by Western countries. Many Global South wisdom are compiled in this book. Only self-development and self-improvement can defend us from the attack of fascism and financial damage.
And we have issued a book from Michael Hudson, and we will also publish many other books. We want to provide to the youngsters with these books as spiritual food and nutrition. And now I want to quote Lucian. After First War, he called for patience and courage. We still have courage. We still want great cause. We should not allow the world to fall as it used to be. We are still facing new challenges, new problems. But funny that many people don't realize these problems and think the world is still okay. And this is what I want to use to end my speech. We hope that we can fight together for the new cause.
Thank you, Professor Tsui. So now I would like to invite Dr. Xiaohui to say a few words.
Thank you, Professor Huang, Professor Jinzhi. Good evening. Good evening, all the panelists, the audience, and friends on the internet. Thank you for your support to the 11th South-South Forum. This year, we have held the 11th South-South Forum. And we start the online forum from 2010. And we also have many speeches and other events. Professor Huang Ping was invited to the first South-South Forum. And then we invited many other professors and helped them build their personal accounts in other media. And we have many fans. Over 20 million fans. And we have gathered all the momentum from all parts of the world, but I still think it's not enough. Many people think that this South-South topic doesn't relate to them. For example, like today when we talk about the building of countrysides, of villages. In today's capitalism framework, we talked about the efforts as South-South community in this hegemony world, and how we reduce the gap between the South world and the North world. The countryside to the urban area is like the southern area to the North world. We are vulnerable and we are faced with disadvantages and challenges. That's why we need to talk about South-South cooperation and the rural construction. We talked about the construction of organizations, about helping each other as South-South communities. So when we talked about rural construction in today's transformative world, we see the crisis of deconstruction, the reorganization of today's world order. We face great challenges as South communities. We have South communities, we have the South communities in the North world. All these vulnerable groups are faced with great challenges in today's world. And we have changes in the definition of rural areas. What is the boundary between the rural and urban areas? Maybe it's not purely geographical. It can be defined by the digitalized world, by the financial world, by the capital world, by so many different standards and spheres. And all these labels influence how we see what is rural construction. So it is no longer a traditional cause. And it is no longer defined simply in the geographical sense. It can be defined in a broader sense. It can be referred to the vulnerable people and the groups and their multiple perspectives. So sometimes we feel that we live in a very difficult era. But it's not an individual problem. It's a common problem. It's what's happening to us. So we need to think about this problem in a macro sense, to keep learning, observing what is happening to us, what is causing all these problems. Then we can solve the solutions or alternatives. It's still arduous to conquer all these problems. And especially in a difficult time, it's even harder to gather all the strengths we need. So we need to keep on with greater power to find the solutions out of all today's dilemma. Again, I want to thank everyone here. Thank all the workers and the panelists. We will further provide the recordings in media like Bilibili, like the Xiaohui. And the English speeches will be put in the YouTube account once we get the consent of the speakers. Again, I want to thank everyone's support for South-South Forum. It's not only about a few days discussion. It's a long-term work. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Yan. I'm so familiar with Jade and also Xiaohui that I forgot to introduce them to you. So Jade Margaret Tsui is as an associate professor of the Institute of Rural Revitalization Strategy of Southwest University in China. She is also a founding member of the Global University for Sustainability. And Dr. Yan Xiaohui is Senior Research Officer of the Program on Cultures of Sustainability, Center for Cultural Research and Development of Lingnan University, as well as Executive Director of the Beijing Green Ground Technology Center, and also a founding member of the Global University for Sustainability. So I am now having the last words. I would like to first speak about the change in the format of this forum. Since 2020, we had gone online, and so it was a task of turning on the Zoom and then inviting people to come in. And then after the meeting, we could just turn off and then go to bed within 10 minutes. But then in order to accommodate the friends from all the different continents, what we did was we tried to arrange for the session to take place in the evening time in Hong Kong. So that would be from 9 o'clock in the evening to 12 midnight, and which would be 9 o'clock in the morning to 12 noon in many areas in the Americas. So last year, we had 35 consecutive sessions every night, and we were totally exhausted. And so this year, because we were trying to change the format, so we have made it into 5 days. So you will see that we had one session on a film screening with the comments by Professor Dai Jinhua on Sunday, on June the 30th. Then, starting from the day before yesterday up to now, we have 3 full days of meetings. And within these 3 days, we started at 10 o'clock in the morning and end at midnight or at 1 o'clock in the morning. So, so this time we apologize that many friends from Europe, Africa, and Latin America could not be joining us for all the sessions because of the time difference. But then this year, our idea was that it would be quite difficult for us to be to be making a full-fledged on-site forum. So we decided to just invite the speakers from China to come to Hong Kong because it is much closer and it doesn't require too much travel. So of the 20 speakers and moderators from Hong Kong and mainland China, we had 15 of us meet in Hong Kong. And we had a lot of interactions apart from the formal lectures and presentations. But then that also meant that we had to try to compress this one. So that's why we have these 10 sessions within the five days. But then tomorrow, we are also going to go to visit a Chinese medicine museum in Guangzhou, China. So for myself, I think it is important that for us as an intellectual and the solidarity community to develop not only our intellectual interests and our ideas, but also the affective dimension. This afternoon, I think some speakers said we should not just be digitally connected, we should also be emotionally and affectively connected, which is what I think is important, because I think now it is a very strange phenomenon that people sitting together, maybe 5 people in a room, they would rather send messages on the phone to each other, and the room would be very silent, very quiet. Now in classrooms, I also do not hear students talk to each other, whispering, etc. They would all be, well, keying in their, on their mobile phones. So we have come to also a time when many of our behavior and our daily life have changed. So that's why this year for us to be conducting the forum with some physical presence of the guest speakers, it was a treat in a way. Last night, we had one speaker from Shanghai. He arrived in Hong Kong at 6 o'clock and he left Hong Kong this morning at 11 o'clock. So he stayed here for just 16 hours. But then he took all this trouble of traveling. And then as soon as he came and he arrived and he saw us, then he exclaimed, he met Professor Wen, Professor Dai, myself, and several other colleagues. He said, I've read so much of your work, but it's the first time I'm seeing you in 3 dimensions. So we are presenting ourselves in 3 dimensions. So despite the cost and the time and energy involved in holding a physical forum or a partially physical forum, then it has been a very rewarding in terms of making building friendships, emotionally being connected. So I hope that we could find later on more opportunities for such kind of interactions. So this year, as Professor Huang just said, we had the fortune of inviting several very well-renowned Chinese medical practitioners and doctors to come to Hong Kong and to give their lectures, and so that we could have a much more profound understanding about Chinese medicine and the integration between Chinese and Western medicine. We also had the privilege of having Professor Pan Gongkai, who's a very famous Chinese painting artist, to come and to talk to us and to tell us his stories. So I think this year we cannot say that we have gone beyond the COVID times. So it is not yet the beyond the COVID times. In the same way, we cannot say this is the post COVID or post globalization period. COVID is still there, although it seems less fatal. But then we have been warned by the director of the WHO that we will be facing a much more serious pandemic. And we don't know what it will be. We can't even name it. So we name it Pandemic X. So it can be anything. And it will be more fatal, more intense than this COVID-19 that we had. So I think this is not something just to be making alarming speeches. I think the problem is that we have seen not only the disruption of our social and cultural and economic life due to the COVID-19, we are also seeing this climate collapse, which had been a theme in our forums for many years. This climate collapse has also further aggravated the pandemics and the viruses that we are facing. So for several years already, we have named our forum, we have given the title Multiple Crises, and how we can be dealing with the challenges. We have been giving this title to our forums, and we have been talking about the politics of hope. Can there be hope? Can we only succumb to despair because of all these climate collapse, of these pandemics, of the impending economic and financial problems? Can we just say we give up and we don't look up? We don't look at what the dangers are. So I think it is in the spirit of our forum that we have never given up hope. And as Samir Amin always said, we should have the audacity. And he repeated audacity 3 times. Audacity, audacity, audacity. And we should be brave enough and audacious enough to look into the interconnections between all these crises that we are facing with. And we should also be daring enough to try to look for alternatives, even if some people would just look at us and say, look at what the kind of alternatives you propose. These are so small, these are so trivial. What can you do? How can they be effective in dealing with all these dilemmas and crises that we have? But for me, in these few days, I have been very much inspired and enlightened by some of the experiences that have been told to us. So I'll just quote two examples. Yesterday, Remy Herrera talked about I think this is this morning. Remy Herrera talked about the health situation in Cuba. And he gave he's an economist, so he gave a lot of data and statistics about how many Cuban doctors had been sent abroad to Pakistan to deal with the Ebola problem in Africa, to go to all of Latin America, to extend their voluntary, mostly voluntary help. And when I heard all these figures, then if it is 5,000 doctors going this way, this place or to that place, then I can imagine that every one of them would be going with taking all this love and care for others, and also carrying the concern and worries of their families. So for example, here, would any of us, even if we are very well-trained in medicine, would any of us want to go to a place with Ebola and go there and try to treat the patients? So we've heard so much about the Doctors Without Frontiers, but the Cuban doctors and the nurses, the kind of sacrifice they have made, the kind of care they have extended to the entire world, despite the embargo they're still going under, despite all the difficulties they are encountering, they still extend their solidarity. And I think this is a true case of internationalism, a true case of global love and care and solidarity. And this afternoon, we also heard from Bhutan, from Tandem Wamo, who spoke with such a soft voice, but then the message she gave was so strong that in Bhutan, which is a country of just 0.8 million population, then throughout these years, in the last few decades, they have been not only proposing the idea of national happiness index, but also they have been trying to implement this. And so hearing the stories, you can see how meticulous they go into in trying to ensure that Bhutan will provide the context and the conditions for people to be happy. So in their constitution, they have written that the forest coverage must not be less than 65%, because we need to give this good environment for our future generations. We cannot disrupt the environment. We cannot destroy it. And Bhutan is also the first country in the world 10 years ago, which declared that it would want to go 100% organic in its agriculture. So I asked the question, have you achieved it? They say that, well, we still have a few percent to go because of the climate change. It has affected all these insects and bugs. And so we need the pesticides. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to harvest anything. So, but still, they have this insistence that they will still give free education for all. They give free healthcare for all. And then they have written in their constitution the kind of environment protection that they will ensure for the next generations to enjoy a happy life. So I think while we are discussing all these problems, like our problems that we face in the healthcare, so we had one Chinese doctor say, if you place the health system in the capitalist market economy, then the logic of the market economy is that the magic of maximizing your profit and trying to increase the clients. So you would want people to go sick. You would want people to come to take your medicine because that is in your interest. So we see this happen everywhere, that the kind of medical expenses have been going so high and so unaffordable. And so I think it is, if we really look at the questions about climate change, about environmental destructions, about COVID, about the market economy, we need to find a way to get out of the capitalist mode that we are seeing today. And Professor Dai Jinghua was saying, I think it was yesterday, yeah, in her concluding remarks, she said, how is it that we can imagine the end of humanity, the destruction of the whole world, but not be able to imagine the end of capitalism? I think that poses a challenge for us, and I think it is up to us also to try our modest efforts in trying to look at these problems and also not be disheartened by the graveness of these problems, but be able to move on. So we also regret that we couldn't be hearing from Hernan Vargas about the example of the people's communes in Venezuela. He was caught in, he was delayed in the airport because of a hurricane, the climate change. And then it affected his flight, so he couldn't come on board today to talk about the experience. But then it was Hugo Chavez who said, commune or nothing. So if there's no communes, if there's no people's organization and mobilization to fend for their own sovereignty, to look after their own lives, then what's the point of all these politics, these elections, all these rhetoric? What's the point? So before Chavez died, he said, we have to make it into our state policy to have to promote the people's communes. So we will be organizing some other sessions in which we will be talking about the communes and in more details. And those of you who are interested could go to the Global University website, where we have had already 2 series of lectures inviting ministers, intellectuals, and commune leaders from Venezuela to talk about their experience. So my last words would be that we are now, we have been saying that we would try to look for alternatives. And alternatives that do not mean that we are looking for something different, something which is outside. In fact, the kind of alternatives is something alternative to the mainstream, the conventional ways of thinking things, the conventional ways of egoism and individualism and social Darwinism. We have to look for ways in which they would be alternative to the kind of modernization and globalization that in which not the majority of the people benefit, but the majority of people are getting more and more pauperized and also more and more marginalized. Particularly at this age of the AI, the artificial intelligence is not only the industrial labor that would be displaced, it's also going to be a lot of manual labor that would be displaced. So I think we still need to draw inspirations from Marxism that talks about this big contradiction within capitalism, that we have all these means to raise productivity, but then we with all this, more people could be satisfied with a much more leisurely way of life. But then now we see that people do not get jobs. They cannot fend for their living. They live in fear and anxiety, and more people get depressed. So I think when we talk about alternatives, this is alternative to the current capitalist mode of production and consumption. And also this current mode of exploitation and plundering of nature, in which we see the revenge of nature already. So I think we have it. When we look for alternatives, they are within our lives, they are within our traditions. So we have to go back to many of the existing traditions that we have, so that we can draw out and tease out the valuable things that are still existing, that have not been totally defeated or undermined by the so-called modernity. And this is also why we have been trying to look back to Chinese medicine in this forum, because Chinese medicine is not just applying the acupuncture needles or telling you how to do massage or getting you how to how to make the medicine. It is a whole philosophy with the wisdom of 10,000 years. A whole philosophy in which our ancestors have tried different herbs, have looked at different contexts, different climates, and also developed ways in which individuals and families and communities could be looking after themselves. And that is also why this time, apart from looking at Chinese medicine, we also invited friends from India to talk about Ayurveda. And also we would try to, and we also had a friend from Zimbabwe to talk, and from different places from Africa to talk about the traditions. So it's not as if all traditions are romantic and good and we are being nostalgic that they are gone. I think we have to be going into what is still existing there and to draw that out. And that is the reason why we screened on the first day of the forum, the film The Book of Fish. That is about how we can be adhering to some of the legacies in our own traditions, despite all the winds from outside blowing in, despite all the hurricanes that are blowing in now. So I would like to thank everybody. So maybe some statistics for you. This time we have 10 sessions in the forum instead of the 35 last year. And we have, out of the 20 speakers from mainland China and Hong Kong, 15 were present here. And we have also 15 speakers from overseas. And altogether, we have 13 countries, friends from 13 countries being here in this forum. We had 3 social media platforms, online platforms, including Zoom and Xiaohui, and also the Bilibili. And of these 3 online media, we have a total of 500 participants. And because we had these speakers physically in Hong Kong, we also had 3 open public sessions in which 200 people came and attended. And to end this, I would like to extend my thanks first to the interpreters who have been helping us with such wonderful dedication. So I would read out their names. So for English to Spanish interpreting, we have Ana Laura Torres, and also tonight we have Julieta Mendez and Mercedes Pico. you are all already very old friends and very lovely friends. And for Chinese to English, we have 10 interpreters this time, including Chai Yanyu, Chen Huifang, Chen Yongsi, Dong Hanyu, Erebus Wong, He Sufei, Li Kewei, Liang Ying, Pei Haitong, and also Rachel Jen. So some of you may wonder, but why are we not having our interpreter for the last 10 years, Huang Xiaomei? So if any of you wonder, I would want to tell you the good news that she was planning to still do the interpretation for us. But then on the 29th, the night before our first day of the conference, she told us that she was then in hospital, but not for anything negative. She was giving birth to her baby. So we congratulate Xiaomei. She gave birth to Luwen last Saturday on the 29th, and he weighed 3.35 kilos. So we wish her well, and that is why I also feel that when Julian has to go away has to leave for a minute to attend to her child, I think next year when we are listening to the interpreting from Xiaomei, we may also see her just say, just hold on for 3 seconds. I have to just look after my baby. So we thank all these, all the mothers, all the parents, and we hope that together we can build a beautiful future for these children. And we have in mind the little baby that's born just a few days ago. So I hope that next year we could be finding ways in which we would be inviting more of you to come, and so that we could be physically meeting each other. And if any of you have any idea of how to be organizing forums or etc., please let us know, and I hope we will be going together hand in hand. And my last remark is, I really thank Professor Huang Ping very, very much for organizing this forum. And it has been such an honor and a pleasure to have you all with us. And I would also like to thank the administrative team of 21 persons who has been headed by Michelle Liu Dan, and also Aoyuan Laisha, Jin Pei Yun, and Yan Xiaohui, and Tsui. And we have, I'm not going to read the whole list, but then it has been these 21 persons who has been working so hard to enable the conference to be, the forum to be held. So I thank again all this voluntary work from our volunteers, and I thank the interpreters again and all the speakers. So thank you again. So have a good day and also good night to many of you. Thank you.